Okay, I think we know that Mewtwo is honestly disgusting right now. I think this Pokemon is ridiculous. I think we can all sit down and agree that this Pokemon needs to be hella nerfed. Honestly, let's be real here. All these Mewtwo abusers out here who just want to use Mewtwo just to get wins, they disgust me so much. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about Pokemon that I think are gonna be pretty solid counters against Mewtwo. So first off, it's your boy Latios Ultima. You already know we out here. I kind of got the motivation to actually make this video. It's because I know a lot of people were really annoyed with Mewtwo and having to deal with all the Mewtwo's disgusting kit that it has. So I figure I make this video to try to help you guys to try to counteract Mewtwo a bit. Hopefully this will help you guys. So I'm going to talk to you guys about a few Pokemon that I think are going to be pretty solid against Mewtwo. I think Pokemon personally that I think are pretty decent counters against Mewtwo for the most part. So let's get into it. This might be a bit of a longer video than normal, so just a little fair warning. This probably will be a long video. So I will try my best to try to get some timestamps for you guys, so you can just skip to wherever you want to go and which Pokemon you want to check and all that good stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So first off, we're gonna of course talk about Mewtwo itself. Mewtwo, of course, was released with the 2nd anniversary of Unite. We already knew about that. I didn't mean to correct that. Sorry about that. So what makes this Pokemon disgusting, in my personal opinion, is Psystrike. Psystrike just makes this Pokemon ridiculous. It just makes this Pokemon disgusting. Not to mention like it decreases movement speed, it does damage, and then when this Pokemon is directing the psychic waves, it takes reduced damage, so it's ridiculous. And then this move just overall just gives people it just literally gives Mewtwo unstoppable, which I think is disgusting. I think it's honestly dumb that this move is even a thing. Future Sight I don't think is that as busted that most people do. I mean, there are people that use Future Sight, but personally I don't think Future Sight is really the way. I mean, there definitely are there are people that are using it and they use it, you know, kudos to you, honestly. But I think the real issue is Psystrike. One of the main issues is Psystrike just being overall disgusting. Because it gives Mewtwo unstoppable, so you can't even hinder this thing at all while it's attacking. And it takes reduced damage, and of course when it Mega Evolves, it just does disgusting damage, honestly, overall. And then Teleport just gives it a dash, so you could just chase down things, and it further increases the rate. It's just so dumb. Like, and it also has access to Recover, which gives it a shield and then heals. Like, it's disgusting. Like, this Pokemon is honestly disgusting. We all know this. Like, we all know how disgustingly busted this Pokemon absolutely is, honestly. So I think we can all sit there and agree that this Pokemon is absolutely disgusting. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about some Pokemon that I think are going to be pretty decent against Mewtwo. So, obviously, Mewtwo is a physical attacker. So, as you guys can see, it's a physical attacker, not special. So, you can tell the difference. So, like for example, Blastoise here is a special attacker. Mewtwo is attacker. So, that means it's going to be a physical attacker. So, you want to take advantage of Pokemon that will be able to hinder physical attackers. And the number one counter that you already know who I'm gonna show you guys. The number one counter, in my opinion, that does really well against Mewtwo and just overall a fantastic Pokemon is of course Slowbro. Now Slowbro here is a defender, of course, but what Slowbro has in this kit that really can do well against Mewtwo is, of course, it has both of its moves are actually pretty good. It has Telekinesis, which can hinder Mewtwo. If you're able to bait the Psystrike or the Teleport, and you can catch Mewtwo with the Telekinesis, you could just stun them for a period, trap them so they can't really pop off, which is really good. That could actually be huge, like, honestly. So Telekinesis, I think, is a pretty solid pick. You can also do it like an Amnesia build and just be super tanky. You just don't die. It also does, and with this move, it does gain increased defense, physical defense, which I think is really crucial, considering that Mewtwo is a physical attacker in this game. Mewtwo X in general, I should be saying. Then this actually is pretty also good, also because it makes Slowbro extremely tanky, being able to tank hits and being able to survive, especially with a really good support like Blissey, Comfy, stuff like that. Poncho sending me an invite. Sorry, Poncho, not right now. But yeah, it's really good. It's definitely really good for that purpose, honestly. And also, what's good about Slowbro is Scald. Scald is, in my opinion, one of the best moves to counteract Mewtwo, honestly. Scald actually slows the enemies down as well as lower their attack, which is huge, especially physical. I believe it also lowers the physical attack rather than just the attack. So this is something that's honestly very, very crucial when it comes down to it. So Scald, I think, is definitely the way to play Slowbro in my personal opinion. Me personally, I've always been a huge fan of Scald over Surf. Personally, you can also do Surf, but me personally, I'm always been a fan of Scald Amnesia. Just being able to stay in the fight, tank hits, and just not die. Slowbro is also fantastic against Zacian too. Honestly, just being able to burn it, you know. I think the thing with it is that you have to pretty much bait Mewtwo's moves. Like, once you see a teleport and do a side strike, then that's your chance to punish it. To not punish it, but like being able to pretty much being able to stop them from doing what from trying to go in. Especially if you run into a Mewtwo that really overextends. If you're able to bait out its side strike teleport combination, which I think that says is what's really been disgustingly strong, then that's probably your best shot to pretty much go ahead and just go in and just go ahead and go in for the punish against the Mewtwo, and you can punish it pretty easily as well too. So Mewtwo can definitely be CC'd for sure to death for sure. I know because it's happened to me quite a bit as well too. So Slowbro in general is just a fantastic Pokemon against it. It's just ridiculous. It's just that good, honestly. So another Pokemon I think that can also do really good against Mewtwo is, of course, Goodra. Now Goodra here did recently get some buffs to its Dragon Pulse, and now it comes out more faster, as well as being able to, just in general, this Pokemon is able to tank really well, honestly. So Goodra, I think, is another decent choice against Mewtwo because it has the Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse in general is just it's just really good right now, being able to constantly heal itself, and then they buffed the healing on the Dragon Pulse recently with the latest patch notes, which I think is a pretty solid, which I think is really nice. And I think both of these two moves are also pretty good. You got Power Whip and Acid Spray. I think for Mewtwo particularly, I think Power Whip might be better because you could just pull him. If Mewtwo tries to get away, you can just Power Whip, pull him to you, and then hit him with a Dragon Pulse. Get yourself some HP, and also you also have access to your passive, which while you heal. Oh no, not passive. Sorry, oh yeah, you do have a passive. What am I saying? Yeah, you have this passive called Gooey, which if a Pokemon hits you, they're getting slowed down. Which this also recently got buffed as well too. So now the slow effect is actually a bit more stronger now. And with this, and while Goodra has this ability, if it walks into grass, it gets an HP recovery, which I believe they did buff that as well. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if that's what they did. But I think Goodra is another great counter. I think a solid check to Mewtwo as well too. Same with Trevenant. I think Trevenant is also a sleeper pick in my opinion against Mewtwo because of Woodhammer. Woodhammer has a lot of stun. Personally, for myself, I've always been a fan of Hornleech and Woodhammer because it has a lot of CC for it, and you heal and you just don't die. The tricky thing about Trevenant though is that if you don't get your stacks early, it kind of feels a little bit mid, but at the same time, you can still you can still use it to pretty much use this kit to pretty much slow down Mewtwo. Wait for its moves. Like, you can't really just throw the moves in and then just hope that you get it. You gotta, like, you know, you gotta literally wait for it to do its stuff and then go in for the punish. And then of course there is also the chance that Mewtwo will also have a full heal, which will make it a little more difficult to pretty much punish. But I think it's pretty solid. I think it's still a pretty good check for sure with Trevenant, honestly. Now, I've been told that Leafeon, even though it is a speedster and very squishy, can actually do really good against Mewtwo, mainly before its burst damage that it has. Leafeon is a Pokemon that I've seen have disgusting amount of damage, and I think that damage can also be a big factor in terms of taking out Mewtwo as well. I haven't really used Leafeon myself personally in a while, but I may pick it up again pretty soon and try it out. But Leafeon I think is another great check against Mewtwo because it has a lot of damage in its kit. Its Unite move does so much damage. I don't think Mewtwo, if Mewtwo doesn't have a support in the team and you have a Leafeon and a really good team comp, I think Leafeon with the Unite move and some good healing can be enough to actually put down the Mewtwo as well too. So Leafeon I think is a fantastic choice against Mewtwo for that particular reason. I think another great counter is Umbreon. Now Umbreon did get nerfed on quite a bit on the Snarl and foul play, but with the right build and comp, I think it could still do some work against Mewtwo despite the nerf that it did get to Snarl foul play. The effects are still there, not as strong as it used to be, but overall I still think this is actually a pretty solid check against Mewtwo for sure. So Umbreon I think is also another pretty solid pick against it overall. So yeah, what else? I say Dragonite is also not a bad check. I mean, it did get that massive buff to its Outrage, so it's doing a lot more damage now. This one could be tricky because, you know, Outrage, you know, Outrage I think it's really strong with basic damage overall, or some good damage overall. So I think Dragonite, I think it's another solid check against Mewtwo. I wouldn't say it's the best counter against Mewtwo, but I think it's still a pretty decent check. Also having access to multi-scale, which reduces damage for a short period from on it, which is really cool. I think it's really dope, honestly. So that's also something to take note of when it comes to it. I think another Pokemon that also does well against Mewtwo is, of course, the greedy little Greedent here. Greedent is just super annoying in general, and I think Greedent has been raised. It's been increasing in usage as of late because of it being so tanky, being so annoying. I think another issue that Mewtwo does have is, like, Greedent is one of those Pokemon that I don't think Mewtwo is able to punish so easily, even though it does have access to teleport and such. If Greedent has, you know, the stuffed cheeks move, which gives him movement speed and healing, Greedent can literally just out heal a Mewtwo. Not out heal, but it can actually be able to get away from Mewtwo even if it's low, which I think is so dumb. I've actually had times where I played Greedent and people kept chasing me and I was so low they were trying to kill me, and I was able to get away and just kept healing myself. So I think Greedent is another one. It's just a really annoying Pokemon. I think it's definitely a ridiculous Pokemon, honestly, overall. I think Comfey is also I think it's still pretty good choice, of course, for its healing. It has decent healing, not as good as it used to be before, but it does have some decent healing. And then you also have the Magical Leaf, which can stun Mewtwo for a short time, which that can actually be big. The key is basically to beat Mewtwo is to pretty much bait out its moves. Like, wait till it does its stuff and then punish it. Like, especially if your team works together, because obviously if you don't work together, then obviously the thing's just gonna fall apart. Mewtwo's just gonna run wild, because we all know how disgusting Mewtwo absolutely is. I am so sorry about that noise in the background. We know how disgusting Mewtwo actually is. Let's be perfectly honest here. So yeah, Comfey I think is pretty decent because of that. Glaceon is also another great check to Mewtwo with the Icicle Sphere. I think it still has a lot of considerable amount of damage, especially if you have a good front line on your team. Glaceon can definitely punish Mewtwo, kind of similar to Leafeon, where if you have a very good front line, able to keep the Mewtwo from approaching your Glaceon or Leafeon respectively, then, you know, Glaceon can definitely still dish out some really good damage against Mewtwo overall. So I think Glaceon is also another pretty solid check against Mewtwo. Now, I think another great Pokemon, in my opinion, that can do well is Alolan Ninetales. I think Alolan Ninetales, is a really good Pokemon. Despite being an attacker, I still think this Pokemon is really strong, especially now that with the buffs that it got. I think Ninetales has a lot of really nice damage and CC in its kit to be able to handle Mewtwo, and again, it's just a matter of having a good front line to make sure that they don't approach you, honestly. So yeah, Mewtwo I think oh, sorry, not Mewtwo. Alolan Ninetales I think is another great Pokemon that can actually handle well against Mewtwo overall. Another Pokemon that I think also will do good is Mamoswine here, because Mamoswine got some love from this latest patch, which I'm actually going to be playing Mamoswine this coming stream, so on Thursday. So pull up if you want to check out Mamoswine action. Mamoswine got an Ice Fang buff as well. To get an Ice Fang damage to it buff, which I think is really cool. It also did get buffed on his Earthquake, but personally, I still prefer High Horsepower over Earthquake because I feel like Earthquake is just super slow. Well, yes, it is stronger. I prefer the High Horsepower because High Horsepower, being able to push people away at the time, is actually going to be really good to pretty much be able to keep Mewtwo in check, push them away to help your ally. And then Ice Fang is just overall brutal to be able to just grab an enemy and just slam them on the ground and do some dumb damage and just push them basically into your ally side so your allies can punish it. I think Mamoswine is also another great check to Mewtwo. Basically, the Freeze Lane combination, I think, can also be a really... I think this will be a real deadly duo that I actually will love to try again pretty soon. I just need someone that plays a really good Ninetales to lane with me on that lane, and we could try to go up against the Mewtwo, see how we do. But I think Freeze Lane is, I think, overall a fantastic, another great option that can counteract Mewtwo as well. So I think that's also a pretty solid pick as well. What else? I think another one I think can also probably 1v1, not 1v1, but like can also do well against Mewtwo is of course Scizor. Scizor did get some buffs to its I believe it got a defense buff with its Bullet Punch. I believe that's how it works. Yeah, I believe it's the Bullet Punch. Bullet Punch gives it a defense boost, right? If I'm not mistaken. I believe it's one of its moves. I kind of forgot. I haven't used Scizor in a while. But Scizor, I think, is a pretty nice Pokemon. Oh yeah, Bullet Punch heals itself too. Heals the Scizor as well too, and it can also do some decent damage, a decent chunk of damage too, honestly. So I think Scizor is also a pretty decent check to Mewtwo as well. And being an all-rounder overall, I think it'll definitely handle itself well. Let's see, what's another good Pokemon that I think can also do good against Mewtwo? Oh yeah, we got the big buff Buzzwole, of course. How can we forget about big buff Buzzwole here? Buzzwole has a lot of cool things in its kit. It has superpower, it has the leech life, it has the smackdown in its kit, that once you bait out the Mewtwo's Side Strike, which Side Strike is the main issue I think a lot of people are having when it comes to facing Mewtwo. I am so sorry about that person that keeps getting me invites, but I think Buzzwole's not a bad counter to Mewtwo either. It's just a matter of knowing, baiting out when Mewtwo does its offensive pressure, and then just coming in to punish it head on there. So I think Buzzwole's also another pretty solid check as well to the Mewtwo as well. So and then I think we all know another Pokemon that can also do well against Mewtwo, and that is of course the evil beast that brought havoc into Unite last year, Zacian, with the Sacred Sword. And this Pokemon I think can also be disgustingly brutal against Mewtwo. Zacian itself is still a disgusting Pokemon as it is, but against Mewtwo I think this will be an interesting case of how this will do against Mewtwo. Probably with Sacred Sword, however, though, but that's just me personally. But yeah, there are Pokemon that can actually handle really well against Mewtwo. Those are just some of the more notable ones that I think not many people are sleeping on, I think. As weird as this may say, I think Crustle might also be a decent choice with the X-Scissor, because X-Scissor does have a bit of CC in it as well. Crustle does need some love though, no cap, but with the right build, I think Crustle with it can actually put in some work too. And I think the Stealth Rock buff that it got honestly can also do some pretty decent damage, honestly, overall. So plus Crustle's a defender, so why not? Shout out to my boy Shuckle, I know he's watching. Let's see, we'll probably do one more Pokemon discussion here and then we'll probably wrap it up. And then I think Adodriel is another good one here with Drillpeck, because Drillpeck can just shove, you could just push an enemy to a direction you want, and then you could just move around the boards the field so quickly. So but yeah, there are still quite a few Pokemon on this list that can actually combat Mewtwo, I think. So but I think the big one that can handle well against Mewtwo well is Slowbro personally, because Slowbro is just overall a great Pokemon, being able to tank hits, being able to handle, you know, most of the attack. And I've played Slowbro enough to the point where I feel like when it comes to Slowbro and its tankiness against Pokemon physical attackers such as Mewtwo and Zacian. I personally really do think that Slowbro is a great check, and I think you definitely should give Slowbro a try. I think Slowbro is a sleeper pick against Mewtwo. This Pokemon is ridiculous. Plus, one thing I forgot to mention about Slowbro in this kit is, of course, the Unite move. Its Unite move is so good, and it cannot be blocked off by a full heal at all too. So if you're in a team fight and you're able to catch their Mewtwo slipping with the Unite, and then you're able to pick up the Mewtwo, especially during a raid fight, that could definitely bring a huge factor in a huge win into your favor. Especially if you're able to unite the Mewtwo on the enemy side. I think it's gonna be really good overall against Mewtwo overall. So there you have it, guys. That's my video of how a Pokemon that can actually handle well against Mewtwo. I wish you guys luck. I know this Pokemon is disgustingly broken right now. I can even agree this Pokemon is disgusting. Hopefully this will help. Hopefully this will help you guys to get a better understanding of what to do against Mewtwo. Like, Mewtwo is disgusting, but if you know how to position yourself and not overextend against the Mewtwo, then then you'll definitely know how to then even you are able to combat Mewtwo as well. So I believe in you guys. We can take down this disgusting Pokemon here. You already know, all day, every day. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments. I know there's definitely a lot of Pokemon. I know there's a lot of Pokemon that there are other Pokemon that can also do really good against Mewtwo, but those are just some of the highlights that I think that can do really good against Mewtwo. So the key to beating Mewtwo, again, it's just a matter of baiting out its moves and playing smart against it. So you can't just really go in against the Mewtwo. You have to play smart. You have to play smart against it. You can't if you go overextend too hard then against the Mewtwo, then they're just gonna easily punish you for free. So because Mewtwo is that disgusting. So especially when it comes to mega evolving, honestly. So something to take note of. But anyways, guys, I wish you guys luck in your games. Hopefully you guys do well against Mewtwo. I know Mewtwo is disgusting, so I wish you guys the best of luck in your games. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I apologize for this video being super long, but thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.